5, 4, 3, 2. Good evening, everybody, and welcome back for another edition of the Coach's Corner. With me, as always, is the coach, Ian Bain. And since we had such a fine showing last week, we brought the dudes back, Sam and Ryan, back to join us for another edition. So let's get right into it, guys. Coach, 8-0. Congrats on the playoff win.
Thank you.
6 possessions, 5 touchdowns. Almost felt like you could do anything. Is that a better way to start the playoff run, or would you rather have had a tougher game?
Whatever you got to do to win. I think we kind of had some things go how we wanted them Friday, and put it this way, I wouldn't trade it for another way. So I don't think that's how we thought the game would go or designed it or anything like that. But it worked out that way. So anytime you win, whether it's big or little, like I'm not somebody that believes you need to have a scare or anything like that. You just want to go out each week and compete at your best. I thought we competed at pretty close to our best, and I was happy with that.
Yeah, the offense was really clicking, but on the other side, for them, it was more of a one-dimensional style of offense. They really tried to stay true to the run, and then when they went to the pass, the D-line really got to their quarterback really easily. So, as Kevin mentioned, 6 positions, 5 touchdowns. How much easier is that on the offense when you have such a confident defense behind you playing at their best?
Yeah, it lets you do some things, and I don't want to say take chances, but maybe have some calculated risks, knowing that if it doesn't work out your way, your defense can make a stop. And I thought we worked really hard as a staff to kind of put players in position to get some different guys involved and to get certain looks, and I think it paid off.
I know they said CM had 40-something points in X amount of minutes. I think we had to be relatively close in that.
Yeah.
One of the questions I had, third series, you throw out there a trick play.
Yeah.
And we don't throw many trick plays out there.
No.
Up 14-0. I don't think they've gotten a first down yet. Why pull it out of the bat now?
It was there, and that's why we just needed to block a little better on it. But no, it was there. It's the playoffs,
Is that something you want to put in somebody's mind down the road?
No, we've had that play for 2 years, and we scored on it last year. And I don't know, just the thing is, you have those, and some weeks they're good weeks to run that play, and then we have others. We just look for the right times and the right moments, and you got to see a certain scheme, and sometimes you call it, and they come out and something you don't want to run it against. You got to check it real quick, because the thing is, I don't think we wasted it. We just didn't execute it. I would have been more upset if we called it into a bad look and then we wasted it where it didn't have a chance. But it had a chance. It was there. I really wasn't thinking about anything, but just wanted to score right there, right on that play, and I thought that gave us the best chance to do it. And we were close, but such is life.
Yeah, and Coach, at this stage, up 14-0, the game's still within reach for Braintree at this stage. I was wondering, from your perspective, were you surprised at all by how cautious Braintree were with the ball? I mean, I believe they were without one of their top receivers who was suspended, but it just seemed like they were so cautious with the ball, really hesitant to throw it. Do you think a big part of that is your defense, or were you surprised at all by that?
I think they did try a couple of times, and I think that just for whatever reason we had something pretty good called at those particular times, and when we had some success, and it made it look easy. Not to be disparaging of our punt, but I mean, in that time, it was the right play call for that moment, and might have discouraged them from. Do you want to? Because I think their quarterback's super talented, and he's only a junior. He'll be back. He's a great player. But if you're having a hard time with some of the looks we were given, try to do what you feel is best. And so I'm sure that their coaches did that, try to do what they thought they could do to maybe shorten the game, or maybe break a run here or there. And so I guess nothing really surprises us anymore. It's just kind of adapting to what is going to be the style of that particular game.
So Roney hits 4 different receivers. He threw one to Mac as well. Kindred, Tracy get touchdowns. You got Hunter was involved. Will Deshane's got involved. The balls get thrown around. Talk about how spreading the ball around is going. Is that part of the game plan going in? Is that Jared's just reading the ball well? Is it a combination of both?
It's a combination of both. I mean, we try to definitely try to get guys involved. I think we just have so many pretty talented players, and they all do different things well. But again, sometimes what the defense gives you is going to dictate what you call. And there are weeks where it's easy to take away. You can maybe take away a player, and then all right, so now we got to lean on some of the plays that are kind of more geared toward the other players in our system. I think Braintree gave us some looks where, if they had maybe adjusted one way, we would have gone a different direction, but it just seemed like every time we made a certain call, they were in a way that just kind of coincidentally let us hit kind of everybody. So, we have it in mind that we want to spread the ball around and get people involved, but I think the game itself is going to kind of more dictate where we go, not necessarily, we got to get the ball to this kid on this play.
Yeah, you mentioned you have a lot of talented players on offense. The depth from the offensive skill position is really something that we've seen from Franklin all year this year. How is that kind of depth with offensive players compared to past years, and do you think it's a factor as to why this team's been so successful this year?
Yeah, I think we've always been pretty blessed to have a stable of really good athletes, on both sides of the ball. I think what's maybe unique about this group is that we don't have anybody that has to play both ways. We could certainly play a lot of guys both ways, but I just feel like, on both sides, like there's defensive players that would be great offensive players, and there's offensive players that would be great defensive players. But all in all, they're just all so talented. So I think the depth shows up more there, where we don't need to pull guys, rob from Peter to pay Paul, so to speak. And I think in years past, we probably had as good of players at every position, but we were sort of like, all right, well, but you got to play about 22 snaps of defense, or you've got to play, 18 snaps of offense, or in this personnel. And I think just as we've evolved this year with the depth, we haven't had to ask guys to do as much with that.
The defense had as good a game as I've seen since I've been here. I believe they had one first down, probably less than 40, maybe even 30 yards of total offense in the first half. 5 of 6, 3 and outs. The line seemed to swarm to the ball. Talk about how well the defense played.
Yeah, I think when they get aggressive and they have it in their mind that they want to do something, they're pretty tough to shake. And we've played some really good offenses this year, and I think they've answered the bell in every game. So, certainly I think that the key is our athleticism, but I think that also they play with the right amount of swagger, and they're very confident.
It reminds me of those 90s Cowboys defenses with Jimmy Johnson. Not a lot of size, but a lot of swagger and a lot of speed.
Yeah, I think we're better behaved. But yeah, I don't know who we're like, but I think that it's 11 pieces. I don't think any one of them is a standout, on their own, a game record, but as a crew, as an 11, and then obviously when you count the rotational players, upwards of 15 players, as a unit, they're really tough, and I think they all just kind of balance and sort of sync with one another and make the unit great.
Yeah, Coach, we've seen how great your defense is, particularly in this Braintree game, but what has impressed me most is their overall consistency over the course of the season. Mm-hmm. They maybe even somehow have gotten better since the start. So how has the defense, game in, game out, week in, week out, been able to just perform well? They really haven't had an off game, I'd say.
Yeah, I hope that we get better in all facets of the game as the year goes on. But I think it starts with our staff. Coach Rosen does a great job. I think he works really hard to prepare everybody. Our D-line coaches, it's 2 guys, but they sort of function as one. Coach Watson and Coach Bertoni, they've been with us, for 6 years, and they work really hard, and they kind of, they just have a way to sort of connect with the kids and get the most out of them. I feel like every year we do that. And, in the secondary, Coach Muse and Coach Sosi, and Coach Sosi's been a staple for a few years, and Coach Muse is new to our staff, but just a lot of attention to detail. And I think part of it too is, a lot of these guys, all of our players have been in the same system for six years, and a lot of people ask questions about system this, and it's a lot on the kids, but you know what? When you do it for 4 years, and obviously we adapt and we change, but there's nothing wholesale, and we have a system in place that allows us to adapt. We have families of blitzes, we have families of plays, we have families of coverage, and so I think it allows us to kind of get us to where we need to be every week, and the kids really do understand. If you have a concept family, maybe it's a 5-man pressure with 2 high zone coverage behind it. All right, we've got 6 of them, but this week we actually don't like those 6, but we're going to put in a new thing. And you might be like, well, now you got 7, but it's like once you understand the defense conceptually, you can really add it and just make your team, I think, put them in good positions to succeed. So I think the kids, they've really put a lot of time in, obviously in the weight room and lifting and running, but in the classroom and the mental piece of what we're trying to do. And our staff has been at the forefront leading that. And I think you're seeing a lot of great teaching going on from Sunday to Friday.
So we didn't really have a Glenn Farmer drive of the day. Well, that's a reminder, we're back here at the Glenn Farmer studios. But the Glenn Farmer play of the day, let's get back to the defense, Coach. Braintree's got the ball 4th down, they're back to punt. Lackey breaks through the middle, gets a big ball up, knocks it in the air, and Peck grabs it for a touchdown.
I think anytime you score in the kicking game, that's huge, or score on defense. And, you know, we've had a few of those. Obviously, we scored earlier this year on defense. But it's always exciting, too, to score in the kicking game. And, you know, great play by Emmett, getting the penetration, being disruptive, but also great awareness by Cullen, because it was one of those kicks that, you know, sometimes when those balls get blocked, you don't know where they go. So guys are kind of looking around trying to find the ball. And, you know, Cullen's such a great athlete, and a smart heads-up play by him. Just get in there. You don't got to do anything fancy. Just recover the football, and it's a touchdown. And good for him. I can't think of anybody more deserving.
Yeah, as is the case with a couple of the opponents he faced so far. Their quarterback was also their punter. And from the broadcast booth, it looked a little bit like when he went back to punt, a little more nonchalant he was back there for punts. And then obviously Emmett blocking about his 3rd or 4th punt, I want to say, in that first half. Did you notice that same kind of nonchalantness when he was going back to punting? Did you really preach aggressiveness there as the game went on to, hey, if he's going to sit back and be lazy there, let's go block him?
You know, sometimes our kids, it's a read. You know, they have to read it and kind of see how the snap is going, how the kick is going. At least that particular call. Obviously, we have pressures and we have returns that we'll call, but a lot of times we're in a sort of read. And, you know, if you get a good jump and you get a good look, and then you have the green light. And, you know, that's what Emmett did, is he felt good about it. You know, obviously, if things had been different, you know, we might have called, you know, he might have read it differently and done something else. But I think you know, that's on our players to read that and feel that, and kind of, you got to have that it factor, sort of an intangible type of block, you know, things that we're not really teaching them, but, you know, well, we're trying to, but it's more, I think there's an instinctual piece of special teams that I don't believe that you can teach, and I think that's what you saw on that particular block.
So final note on this game, to put a knot on it. You got a lot of kids out after the half. You got a lot of kids some playoff experience that they'll, you know, most teams don't ever get a chance. One thing that stood out for me is Mac probably got tackled 4 times. It's got to be the most rushing yards for 4 tackles that I've ever seen. Talk about how good that is for your team.
I think anytime you can get out of a game clean, and even at the end of the half, you know, I realize the optics, but a chance to score and get around and clock the rest of the game and kind of end it. I mean, there's something to be said about, you know, in a game like that where you kind of know where the game's going, being able to get you guys out. And we've been on the positive end of games where we've lost players, and it's like, you know, it's one of those games where it's like a 21-point game, and it's like you can't quite pull everybody out yet, and then something happens. And it's usually too, like, everybody knows it, so maybe you're not playing as hard, even though we shouldn't be. I don't know. But there's something to just having a good, clean game. It was the right time, and getting to see the young guys play and some of the seniors play is always a great thing to do. And when you have our schedule that we have and the games that we've had, you know, we haven't had a game that was really, I mean, even if you look at some of the games, like, you know, Taunton was 35-0 in the final, but that game was really 14-0 at the half, and that was because we scored late. And then it was like 21-0, and then we kind of scored, got a pick 6 late to make it look like a big win, but it wasn't. It was a tight game, and I think they've all sort of felt that way. They've been that way. So it was nice to give those guys that work really hard and do a lot in our preparation a chance to play.
And Coach, just quickly going back to Mac, after picking up a little bit of a knock in that Milford game, he came roaring back. To see him have a great of a game as he did with 3 touchdowns, that has to be a real good sign heading into Friday against Methuen.
Yeah, I mean, the Milford game definitely, you know, took a lot out of him, but 37 carries would do that to most of us, I think. And, you know, there's a physical toll that comes with that. You know, it's not just the miles on the legs, but it's the body blows. And Milford's a pretty good team, as we're seeing now in the playoffs and with their seed. So it was nice to again, have a clean game for him. But also, you know, he got the mileage, he got the running in, he got the action, he got tackled a few times, and he's at 100%. And I think he would have been at 100% anyways, but even still, like, those hits and those yards add up in the course of really 2 seasons, in one calendar year. So it was good.
So around in Methuen, something that came up late in the day yesterday and has been going on and off in Twitter all day is the weather for Friday. I know your school, Foxborough, can't move their game. Milford's moved their game. I spoke personally to the AD who said there was thoughts of it, but then they said, no, we're going to keep it play. The weather works for both teams.
Yeah.
What's your feeling going in with that?
I mean, I think football is a game where you've got to play regardless. As long as there's player safety. I mean, some teams have moved. They have grass fields.
Right,
and
grass field, I can understand.
Yeah, I mean, and with budgets being what they are, and the towns, and you got to obviously take care of those things. But I think football is a game that you do play in weather. We've never moved a game by choice. The game that we moved, the only time that we've been here was 2. Attleboro came here, and we were set to play in the monsoon, but then the lightning started. And if not for the lightning, we would have played. And it was fine all game until then all the lightning came. So we had to go to the next day, and then obviously we played a Saturday game with Milton last year, but that was because we picked up the game on Thursday afternoon. And so let's play on. So it rained Friday night, anyways, but that wasn't why we moved it to Saturday. It was let's play Saturday so we can actually have a practice to get ready for one another. So it's a thing that but every school's different. I think there is something to be said too, though, and I know a lot of people chirp on Twitter and social media, but I mean, part of moving the game sometimes can be giving the fans a good experience too, because it's not. I think I can't speak for every coach and player, but once you're out there in the weather, I really don't think you think about it. You just kind of play. Everybody does a good job of keeping the balls dry, and everybody does what they got to do. And you don't really think about the rain or the cold when you're playing, but when you're a fan or a spectator, and obviously, one of the things we want is we always want to see kids in the stands, and mom and dad and grandma, grandpa. We don't want anybody to not be able to enjoy the game because of the weather. So I think that does factor into some schools' decisions to move games, not just about strategic advantages or playing in the rain, not playing in the rain, but like what can we do to make sure we have a full house and a lot of people get to come out and enjoy the experience. So, but I do think the weather's going to be all right Friday. I think we'll be fine.
Yeah, whatever the weather's going to be, you still have Methuen coming to town Friday. The Rangers obviously coming off a win in the first round against Everett, which is a team that was undefeated going into that first round matchup. So with Methuen coming to town, a team that's already played the bad guy and spoiled the perfect season, what kind of game are you anticipating from that 8 seed?
I mean, I'll tell you, I don't think they spoiled anything. They're a very good football team. They have 2 losses against really good quality opponents, Central Catholic and Marshfield. And they were in both those games. They played both those teams very tough. I think actually in a lot of ways it's like looking in a mirror. I think they have a really good team. I think they're well coached. I don't think they're overly big, but they're super athletic, and that's kind of like how we describe us. They do a lot of different things on offense. They're very balanced with who touches the ball and the formations they use. I think we do the same. I think their defense is very attack, and really good getting to the football and swarming to the football and creating some chaos. I think we do that. So I think there's some similarities that you're going to see Friday between the 2 styles. Obviously, they have their own wrinkle in the way that they want to do things, and we have the same. But I think it's a great matchup with 2 really good teams. I think they could very well be undefeated as well. So definitely not taking them lightly. And I don't think they're trying to knock us off. I think they're trying to take a place that they believe they deserve, and I think they are a deserving team. So we're going to be ready.
So, Coach, one final question for me. Last week we talked a little bit about how you like your team's playing with a chip on their shoulder.
Yeah.
Methuen is definitely coming in with a chip on his shoulder.
Sure.
Danny Ventura and Methuen rocked the world, and the greatest upset since the 1980 hockey team. How do you keep your team with their chip on the shoulder?
I think you just got to keep challenging them every day, and that's what we've done this week. Try to make them understand, and our kids do, how good they are and how good their defense is, how detailed our preparation has to be for their offense. I mean, and we know that Methuen is not scared of Franklin. Nobody's scared of Franklin. We are not the household name. Methuen's probably, or anybody that plays us, is going to be like, oh, good, we're not playing Zavarian. Oh, good, we're not playing Central Catholic. So that's chip enough. Like, nobody's coming in here and bowing down to Franklin High School and saying, oh, man, the Panthers. Gosh, we can't win this one.
With a bad draw.
Yeah, so I think at this point everybody's salivating the chance to play us. Like, who's left? We'll take the number 1 seed Franklin because it's not the other traditional power. So we still have a lot to prove ourselves. So I mean, that's chip enough, and we got to keep playing, and we want to keep this thing going, and we want to compete and play a great game on Friday.
Yeah, Coach, I just wanted to touch on the mentality that this team has because I was able to talk to Matt Gula after the game, and something that I really took note of was that when I asked him about just his ability to pull off those explosive runs, his immediate response was, "It's all the line." So he immediately gave credit to the offensive line, taking the attention off himself. And I get the sense personally that a lot of players that I would ask similar questions about in their respective roles, they'd have similar answers. It seems like a very unselfish team overall, where everyone puts their egos to the side. So how great is it having that mentality, and do you feel that your team has that unselfish attitude throughout?
Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, we always want the kids to be themselves and have their own personalities. But I think everything that you're saying about Mac and our team is true. It's genuine. Because I think, too, that they realize how hard it is to win. I mean, you look at all of our games, we could have easily lost 4 or 5 of them. They were all tight games. And, I think if you understand what it takes to win, you understand that all those other things don't matter. And the thing is, I've always felt our teams have never worried about stats. They've never worried about my touchdowns or your touchdowns or this yards or that yards. They don't care about who gets interviewed after the games. They just have always wanted to win. And that goes back to, I can remember the year we had Nick Gordon and Tommy Gasparo competing and starting quarterback. And, they split some time and then ultimately kind of settled one way. But, there was never animosity. There was never jealousy. There was never blame. It was all encouragement, all about winning. And, sometimes the adults, they don't always understand it. And sometimes fans in the stands don't understand it. And like, oh my gosh, you guys don't care about that? But it's like, if you've ever been part of a real team, you know that none of that stuff matters. What matters is winning. And, obviously you got to do it the right way, but I'm talking about the individual piece comes kind of second to the winning. And I just think it's because in football, it's not like other sports like basketball where you can just, kid goes score 30 points and we're going to be in the game. You have to have everybody playing at their best. And so I think that's why they are the way they are, and I think that's why we've been so successful this year.
Anything from anybody else?
I got one more question. So you mentioned playing a clean game against Braintree, and you had a lot of starters who, some starters weren't 100% going into the game healthy, but really you guys got in.
What? Who's saying this? We were all healthy and
you guys got in, got your work done in the first 24 minutes, really, and let some reserves take on more key roles in the second half. In terms of coming to Methuen, how important do you think that is to be ready to go now? You got a lot of guys coming back. They're closer to being full against a Methuen team that you're expecting a tough battle from.
I think football's a game of attrition, right? And everybody this time of year has injuries.
Nobody's 100% now.
If you're 100%, everybody's 100%, then you're probably doing something wrong. And you can't tell me that it was a clean game, but guys woke up Saturday very sore and Sunday very sore and Monday very sore. You can't tell me, Methuen and guys from Everett didn't wake up Saturday and Sunday feeling sore. That's football. That's November. And that's how it is. So, but you got to manage those things. You got to manage your roster and do the best that you can to get kids ready to play. And, this week was nice in a sense that, you played Milford for 4 quarters down to the wire. That's a lot of bumps and bruises, a lot of mileage on the tires. And, when you play a half at a high level, but you play a half, maybe you were able to recover by Sunday instead of Tuesday.
Yep.
So, we were full health, full roster if this was the NFL, and we were reporting those things. We had everybody full participation every day, and we feel good about that part of our game. So now we just got to go execute.
And just one last thing, Coach. Looking at Friday's opponent in Methuen, their quarterback had an impressive performance against Everett. They seem like an athletic team all around. I think Franklin maybe just as athletic, if not more. So how do you see your defense matching up against their offense?
It's 2 very similar teams, so what we've got to do is just find a way to dictate get our fingerprints on this and not let them dictate their style and get their fingerprints on. And I think whichever team has it go more their way will probably come away with the victory, because I think we're just so evenly matched and very balanced, and so we've got to come to play and kind of try to steer it in our direction early and often.
All right, so that's going to wrap it up for us. I want to wish a happy Veterans Day for all the veterans out there who support the program and those around the country. So for the dudes, the coach, and all the good people here at the Glen Farmer Distillery, thanks for joining us on the Coach's Corner. We'll see you next Wednesday. See you Friday night at the field. Good.